You were born with individual strengths and a unique purpose. Don't let fears, false beliefs, or life's happenings diminish your influence. It's time to live and lead for impact. Host Kirsten Ross, expert of transformation, will help you defeat the drama and overcome the trauma that can stop you in your tracks. You'll gain focus, find confidence, and take bold action. Unleash passionate, purposeful you. Let's go.
Welcome to Live and Lead for Impact. I'm Kirsten Ross, your host, and this is episode number 179. Thank you so much for joining me. I have an amazing guest. I'm so lucky I get amazing guests. So once again, I'm going to say I'm super excited for you to meet Lorena. Her name is Lorena Tomasini, and she's the co-owner of MALM Life and Health Insurance Agency. Together with her mom, they help families and business owners protect their financial future. They work virtually, so you can be in the comfort of your home or office, even in your PJs. Now, that's nice because, let's face it, people don't like talking insurance, right? Like that's not like a breaking news or anything, right?
I've never heard that before. I don't know where you got that from.
Really? Everyone's like skipping. Yay, I get to talk insurance today. I know they like to see you though. So.
Well, I'll tell you, when we used to be able to go to networking events, sometimes, people are like, oh, what are you doing? I'd just be like, oh, I do life and health insurance. And they'd be like, oh, okay. And that would be the end of that conversation.
Aww.
So,
it's not you, but no, but I know you bring light and love to it. So, and you have such an inspirational story for what you do. But she also hosts the 12-Minute Talks podcast featuring, 12 minutes. She keeps it to 12 minutes. So that's amazing. But the 12-Minute Talks podcast featuring other Florida-based business owners. So, and we're going to have connection information for her in the show notes. So you'll be able to find her there. But I want to welcome you, Lorena. Sorry. Oh my goodness. Lorena.
It's perfectly fine. Thank you so much for having me on, Kirsten. I'm looking forward to sharing some, valuable information with your audience here.
Yeah, thank you. So tell me about your work. And I know that you really look at, it's not the work itself, but the impact that you're helping make for others. So tell me what you do with your work, the impact that you're making.
Definitely. So I think the main impact that I do with families and businesses is for them to have peace of mind that no matter what life throws at them, that they'll be financially prepared. So, what I mean by whatever life throws at them, that could be anything from, God forbid, a cancer diagnosis, a heart attack, right? Or even the inevitable, which is passing away, right? So yeah, it's just having that peace of mind that no matter what, they'll be financially ready for it.
And I know that you have an inspiring story about why you do this work and how important it is. And, as you were saying those words just a minute ago, like each time it's like, like I said, like it's not like who likes to face the reality or that possibility of things that we don't want to have happen to us or anyone we love. But
Right.
better to have a plan ahead. So share the story that brought you to this work.
Yeah. So, I always say I hope that whoever buys what I do, they don't have to use it. But we know unfortunately that's not the reality, right? Um, but yeah, definitely, the story for me is a personal one. My father was a business owner for as long as I can remember. And one day he got diagnosed with cancer. And we were all a bit shocked because my dad had always been pretty healthy. Um, but then we saw the financial impact that it meant to not be prepared for that. So, we had to uh, close the business because he never taught any of his other six kids um, how to do anything in his business. He was never interested in showing us. But besides that, yeah, the bills at the house still needed to get paid and everything. And we were all working at that point, like my sister and myself, that we lived with him. But it's not the same, when you're in college, let's say, and you're just working like part time, right? You're still kind of depending on that income from the primary breadwinner, right? So yeah, so we saw what it meant, to not have income coming in because he got diagnosed with cancer. He didn't pass away until like another 5 years because he made a miraculous recovery after that happened, and then he retired. Um, but at the time when it happened, we just weren't ready for that.
Yeah, and how difficult when you're already at an uncertain time, as a family, and then to have such an uncertain financial future and trying to figure all of that out on top of it all.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. Like I remember I had to take some time off school to go be with my dad or to help him take him to like a doctor's visit or something like that. So I always say that, when something like this happens, um it's not just the person that gets diagnosed, but it's more of a family issue, right? Hopefully, you have good kids or a friend or somebody, right? That or a spouse, right? That will help you out in that time of need. Hmm.
Yeah. So, can you think back to a specific impact that you've made that really fuels your passion for your work? Is there an instance where you helped an individual or a family?
Yeah, definitely. So I think what one of the biggest impacts that I saw, I have two stories, but I'll go with this one since we were talking about that. Um, I have a lady that she bought a policy from me, a life insurance policy. And 2 months after, her husband calls me, and I'm here thinking, oh, he's calling me to buy life insurance or something. And he's like, no, I'm calling because my wife passed away from a sudden heart attack. And I was shocked because they had just literally bought the policy, 2 months ago. And this was a husband and wife that had been married, over 40 years, one of these long time couples, so I felt, emotionally devastated for him and, the family as well. But that's when I really saw the impact of what I do, because it's not about the money, but it's so that that husband now has some time to grieve without thinking about, man, how are we going to continue paying the mortgage, or how are we going to take care of the funeral expenses, right? So it's really what I do is just peace of mind is how I look at it, because these are things that eventually, we're all going to pass away, unfortunately. Um, but he maybe, I don't know, maybe he used some of that money to take the grandkids on a vacation they always wanted to do, right? Because people always look at life insurance as like, oh, a negative thing. But I'm like, you can also look at it in a positive aspect, right? As in leaving the money to a niece or a nephew or a charity that you've always worked for, volunteered at, right? So I think, yeah, what I do is definitely impactful in the daily lives, and who knows, maybe for generations to come.
Yeah. So, how long did it take you to start doing this work? And, what was the biggest internal or external challenge that you had to overcome, and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, so I started doing this at the end of college with my mom. I was her appointment setter for a while. And then I went with her to see what she did in more detail. Like I always knew what she did, but it's not the same thing if you do like the take your daughter to work day type of thing, right?
Yeah, you don't really get the full
Exactly.
experience.
Yeah, so I thought I saw what she did, and I'm like, oh well, this is something interesting, I saw that what she did was helping people. Um, and so I got my license and I started doing that while going to college at the same time. And yeah, so at the time I used to visit people like at their houses or their office, and eventually we transitioned to just doing everything over the phone or over the computer, and then not just something in 2020 but for the past few years. So I think for us that was like a big transition to make, not only for our clients but also like mentally, because we had been used to always doing things face to face, right? But
Hmm.
it got to a point where I realized, we're just meeting with these people with our computer and just doing everything on the computer. So like why not make this easier for them as well? So they don't have to clean their houses for us to come by, right? Or like, oh, remember that Lorena was coming, right? Um I think it just makes it easier for them because they're in a comfortable place to talk about these important issues that, a lot of times people like to procrastinate, right, in like
Hmm.
tasks or things. And I think life insurance is one of those things that people procrastinate often.
So, can you share some strategies that you use, whether it's a mindset shift or some kind of, I don't know, something that you do, a technique to help you stay motivated and moving through tough times?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I like to remind myself that everything in life is temporary. Um, So that helps with, not like dwelling on things, and eventually our brain has a way of forgetting things that that are bad, right? Like even if I try to think about like with my dad's things that happened so long ago, there's details that of course there's no way my brain is going to remember, all of that. So I think just bringing into mind that things are temporary and everything has a solution really helps, because if now we get stuck in like the problem or how bad something is instead of trying to figure out a way out of it.
Yeah, I like that. It's just a moment in time and things will change
Mm-hmm.
and we'll have an opportunity to maybe even impact the change. So, yeah, we're not stuck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's great. So, what words of wisdom do you have for others who want to make their own impact in the world?
Yeah, I think something really important to think about is your why. Like, why do you do what you do, and how you do what you do. Um, because I think a lot of people they like to think about the bottom, the end result, right? Whether it's the finances or the house or the cars, right? Like, yeah, that stuff is important. I'm not saying work for free, right? but but definitely have a big why, because that way in moments when things are tough you can remind yourself of why you're doing what you're doing, and the other thing too is that there's nothing wrong with pivoting in life. And I think if 2020 showed people anything is that we can adapt to any type of changes that we need to in order to get better and improve.
Yeah, I really like that too. I so often I see people when they're about ready to make some kind of change or launch into something new and they can get paralyzed. You know, the whole what ifing
Mm-hmm.
everything. And then also they kind of forget like, you could tweak what you're doing next. Like if it doesn't work
Exactly.
out or like let's say it just doesn't, maybe it's okay but it's not the greatest. This decision that you're making today doesn't go out into the future in infinity. You
Exactly.
can
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
can
yeah.
change, you can shift, you can pivot, you can twist.
Yeah,
You
I
can
call it analysis paralysis, right? Where like
Yeah.
you think so much about stuff, but you're not actually doing anything
Mhm.
about it,
Yes.
you know? Um, or people like to think about, oh, what others will think, and at the end of the day, it's your life, If you're happy with what you're doing, that's all that matters, as long as you're not hurting anybody or something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I've seen that a lot too, that analysis paralysis. And it's definitely like as an individual, like put yourself in check. If you're
yeah,
constantly, researching, like at some point, that's just a delay tactic. Like at some point,
of
all that
course.
research needs to turn into something. And,
Yeah.
and it can feel productive. Like I'm doing stuff, but,
It's
are you
it's
moving
like
yourself forward?
people, yeah, no, it's like people that you look at their calendar and it's like all they have is webinars. I'm like, yeah, okay, you need to be informed, but you can't spend all your time in webinars. Like, eventually you have to share this information
Yeah.
with others, like there's a saying that perfectionism is like is society's way of accepting mediocrity, or like not doing anything, because
Yeah.
oh, it needs to be perfect. And it's like, no, it just needs to get done. I'm not
Right.
saying, throw out something that looks horrible, or but like what they say it in tech, it's the minimum viable product, right? That it
Mhm.
works. So
Mhm.
and then you improve upon it. you know?
Well, yeah, and I think tech is a perfect example of like, yeah, just like get it good enough. And again, then you can tweak. And there are so many questions that you can't get answered until you implement or start
Mm-hmm.
using something or trying something. You know, you're not going to be able to what if your way into perfection in a new launch, you know,
You
like I'm going to
can't,
just
man.
figure out all the inevitable things, you know, all the possibilities and like work around them. No, like just launch and tweak from there. Yeah. Take the pressure off some of those initial steps.
I mean, look, like going back to the what if, like who would have thought a pandemic in 2020, right? Like nobody could have prepared for that. Like
Yeah.
nobody's putting that
Yeah.
into their, maybe now we're putting it
Yeah.
into our contingency plan, right? But before, no one's looking at that. So, you know.
Yeah. That was not on my what if board whatsoever. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I wonder how long we'll all have the what if on that on that list. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me today and for sharing your inspirational story and your nuggets of wisdom. I really appreciate it. And I'm excited that you and I are going to be on Clubhouse together tomorrow in a room in the Family Business Leaders room on Clubhouse. So, or in the club, I should say, the Family Business Leaders Club. So that's going to be great. You're going to have great, valuable information to share with the business owners and leaders and stakeholders. So
Yeah, that
we get to talk again.
I appreciate that. Yeah, especially we're gonna talk about how not to become a GoFundMe page,
Yeah.
which I think is an interesting topic.
Yeah. That's how you should title it. Avoid the GoFundMe page.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that's great. Well, thank you so much. And yeah, and if you're on Clubhouse, definitely find the Family Business Leaders Club. And I'm always hosting rooms in there with professionals who are providing great value for family business people. So thanks so much for joining today. And if you want to connect with me, I've got spots in my calendar for you. And I will help you create some kind of breakthrough, whether it's a leadership breakthrough, clarifying breakthrough, mindset shift in 12 minutes. So I give you a little more time than that, but within 12 minutes, you'll have some kind of a breakthrough, some kind of strategy to implement. So reach out at defeatthedrama.com/call to grab your spot. And like I said, please connect with Lorena. You'll find all of her contact information by going to the show notes for today's episode. And you can find that at defeatthedrama.com. Click on the podcast site and then go to episode 179. Thanks again so much for listening. This is Kirsten, and I'm here to help you defeat your team drama, to forex your productivity, and make your impact bigger and bolder. Make it a great day.